Hello influencers, it's that time of the week again. This is Harun Rabbani and we're going to be interviewing somebody who I've met a number of years ago who is an absolutely phenomenal entrepreneur. She's written books, she's traveling the world, she's doing the kind of entrepreneurial lifestyle that most people only dream about, but she's actually doing it. So without further ado, let's welcome on April Chandler to the Harun Rabbani Show. Welcome, April. Thank you so much for joining the Harun Rabbani Show, the video and the podcast. So you're an entrepreneur. I've seen you in action from a distance and close up as well. And you're a serial entrepreneur and you're a serious entrepreneur and you're also a fun entrepreneur. One of the things I've noticed though is you've done one of the things you're doing and have been doing is something that I wish I'd done when my kids were young, which is to travel the world with them. When I say travel the world, I'm talking about like you're going to a few countries. So why the journey? Why are you taking your children with you everywhere you go? And what are you doing there?
I made a decision when I was living in France after a sort of a minor scare getting run off the road by a big truck. And then I ended up getting sort of a cold, which I never get. And I was laying on my back, unable to sort of move. It's sort of like I felt this whole shiver through my body. And then I was like stuck, laying on my back. And I would literally roll myself out of bed to go to the bathroom. And this went on for about 2 weeks. And in that time, I decided to make changes. And I said, I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to take my kids with me, but how can I actually make this work in terms of money for us? And how can I keep it going so I don't lose the brands that I've already built up? And so I decided to write a show, and I wrote it, and it's Wonder Hunters. And basically I pitched that to Sky and they said, absolutely love it. And so we made the decision to basically do a road trip, traveling through countries to show the best in humanity against the backdrop of amazing natural wonders. Because I believe people are good everywhere. And people just want to get on with their lives. They want to have a good life for them and their kids and their businesses. And, so I was really, really privileged to be able to do that and cover the cost. So we, jumped in our amazing solid Toyota, which, I love the Toyota because they're reliable, they're solid. And you can go across the desert, you can go through everywhere and that it doesn't matter if it gets a bit beat up. And so with 2 dogs, 3 children, and whatever else we could fit in the car, we basically went on this trip. And we went through Africa, including Morocco. So while we were in Morocco, we climbed Toubkal. The children even climbed it. And it was actually at that point that I realized that people, they are limits. They believe that we're limited by what we can do, even as children, because when I went and got a guide, because I'd already climbed Toubkal, and when I took my kids back to climb it, the guides were like, no, I don't think they can do it. We can take them to the halfway point, to the refuge, but we can't take them to the summit. And I said, no, they can. They want to do the summit. And they said, no, it's too hard. It's, they're too little. Come back in a few years. And I said, listen, they want to climb to the summit and they will. So the guy said, oh, fine, I'll take you. So anyway, we then climbed up and they summited Toubkal, which is the largest mountain in North Africa. And it's not an easy climb. It's a real hard trek. But it shows how we limit our children, which also limits ourselves. So there's nothing I believe that I can't do or they can't do. So I was lucky to be able to do that and carry on traveling around the world. So we went, everywhere, even Albania, Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, Turkey, Greece, you name it, we went. And what an amazing, joyful experience it was. It was great.
How old are your children?
So Meadow just turned 8 last week. So she was 7 when she climbed Toubkal. River was 10 and August was 8 at the time. So they're now 9 and 11.
Knowing you, of course, a lot of people won't know who you are. You're not the hippie, new agey type. You're actually a hardcore entrepreneur. You're a filmmaker. You're an influencer, and you've been doing that for a very long time. So what stopped you from your journey? Because the impression was you're going to do that for a very long time, climbing a lot of mountains,
Yeah.
driving across countries.
So the plan was, I planned it out for a 2-year production, and I had a route planned, and then unfortunately while we were in Turkey, we were driving down the motorway at 70 miles an hour, and a Turkish local guy came down the wrong part of the road on the intersection onto the motorway. So if you imagine, if I was going to turn off the motorway, that's the road I would go down. He came down that road. And then he decided to, because he couldn't see, because you know that the roads are different when you come off to where you come on. So he couldn't see very well. So he decides to cross to go to his village just as I got there, and I hit him straight in the side of his car, like full force. Now, the weirdest thing is that at that time, it was like, close my eyes. I didn't even have time to, for my life to flash in front of me, because in all honesty, there was zero time. It was like the car was there. I barely even touched the brake. And the first thing I said to everyone is, and this is like, I don't know why I said this, I said, is everyone alive? It's like, why do we say certain things in those moments? And like, everyone's like, yes, mommy. But Meadow was screaming because the way she was sitting, her leg was underneath her. And so she broke her leg in the car accident. And at 7, she was screaming. It was horrific. And, then we couldn't, because the way that we'd been impacted, we couldn't open River's door. He wasn't crying, but he was covered in blood and he was hurting, his chest was hurting. So I was concerned that maybe his lungs had burst, but luckily it was just where he'd hit the airbag. His nose was bleeding. So other than Meadow with her leg, none of us had any injuries. I mean, I didn't even have whiplash, absolutely nothing. And I think it's because we genuinely didn't have any time. So we didn't have time to even brace. And so our bodies just sort of went with the flow. And that's why I'm a huge fan of Toyota, because in any other car, I think we would have been done. But their cars are like, they're solid, aren't they? And, it basically crushed all the way to the glove compartment. So if it had come slightly further, River's legs would have been trapped, but nothing. It was absolutely like, the universe was seriously looking after us. So that changed our road trip. And of course, we all had a chat and we said, look, we've had this scary thing happen to us, but do we want that to put us off from actually living our dreams? And we all said, no, we still want to go to places, but we decided that going by road wasn't something we wanted to do, because it is actually pretty tough on the road. Wonderful because you get to see in between places, but it's a lot of driving and it can be quite tiring. And so we decided what we would do is we'd fly places. And now we was very lucky. We went to the Philippines in January for Greg Secker's launch of his village. So that was sort of the first trip that we then went on after Meadow's leg was healing. And then from there, we had to go to Mexico. We had to go to Spain. We then went to Mexico filming, and then from Mexico to Los Angeles because I'm doing a production here.
Currently, you're based in LA. And
I'm based in Malibu, so lucky us.
A very amazing thing about yourself is you set up shop wherever you go. So you've got a couple of businesses going. What's your main business at the moment while you're doing the documentary? Yeah, so how I see things, and that what you do is not necessarily forever. I can produce certain films for the next 5 years. I mean, I've got projects lined up and I'm working on a few productions right now. And so that's great. But I always think, okay, what if in 5 years, I have no more ideas or no one else comes forward to me with a production idea? So, I always go back to my staple, and that is wellness activist. And I've always consistently had that constantly working along in parallel to every single thing that I do. And so when I came to Malibu, the first thing I did was I looked for a space. I set up location. I got the Elevate and Compass equipment. And, that's what I do. And that's my staple. So that's what I call my day-to-day money. That's the money to pay your electric, your gas, your food, your kids. And then anything else that I do, the production stuff, is, as we say in the UK, gravy. So you tend not to fall ill, other than that one occasion.
So
And
it's you know, what happened is I came back, because I went and met Richard Branson in London, and I'd had the sort of the little sort of where the truck came on my side of the road in France, and I had to come off the road to avoid being hit by that big truck. And I think the driver had fallen asleep, and that was like a bit of a wake-up call. But I just felt a bit like of a twinge with my shoulder. It sort of, you know, but it wasn't anything major. And I think because I had to go to see the guys at Virgin the week after, I just was like, you know, focus and keep going. So I went to London. I did all that I had to do. When I came back to France, I was out in the garden. I was on the phone and immediately felt shivering. So I actually think it was probably related to the week before, because I just felt shivering. My whole body started to go down. And, you know, I'd also recently broken up with someone. And I think an accumulation of all these things, my body was like, you're done. And that's why I was laying on my back, because I don't have back issues. I work with people who have back issues, and I've never had that. But I physically could not get off the bed. I mean, I was like, you know, I had walkie-talkies to the kids, you know, are you guys okay? Yes, Mom, we're fine, you know, and that's sort of what we did. So I do believe sometimes your body really does tell you something. Now, other than that, like you said, I'm not sick. I never get colds. I never get flu. I never get run down, and neither do my kids. And I think it's because of the wellness, the things that we do.
now in the world of entrepreneurship and people trying to be an influencer, you are already that yourself. The demand on CEOs, on leaders, seems to get higher and higher.
Yeah.
But why do they need to pay attention to their physical condition?
So entrepreneurs, leaders of companies, they get quite focused in what they're doing. And because they're influential in their own right, they forget actually about looking after themselves, because they're always focused on looking after other people. And that's why a lot of, you know, really big corporate leaders end up with heart attacks. And that's actually a fact. I mean, even, you know, Sony Studios, a lot of executive producers there end up with triple bypasses. I mean, it's such a stressful job when you're working, dealing with money and dealing with looking after people's livelihoods. Because if you imagine you've got 100 so people to look after, if you fail, then they lose their jobs. They can't pay for their kids' schooling. It's like a domino effect. So that pressure on people's shoulders is huge. So what I always say to them is two things. First one is always focus on your wellness. Even if you just take CBD every morning, and I use Indoka CBD, and the reason why I use them is because they're pure. I've been to their locations. I know exactly what they use. The founder is a chemist by trade and also an organic farmer. So he understands how to, and he's also very ethical. So I only use Indoka. So I take CBD every morning, every night. My children also take it. And we have cannabinoids in our system, and we need to, add more. It's like, as I was saying, to someone the other day, it's about the 8 essential minerals. We need to bring things into our body to keep ourselves healthy. And that is one of them. CBD is one of those. It doesn't have the THC, so you're not having the hallucinations or feeling groggy, but you do need, the CBD. So I take CBD and CBDA in the morning as drops under my tongue. And then at bedtime, I take a capsule. And now I personally only take 3% because it's about preventative. I don't have any issues. I don't have any, cancer issues or anything like that. So people take stronger versions if you've got ailments. But if you're just trying to keep yourself healthy, take the 3%. So I take the CBD. I also take organic cider vinegar. Now people go, what? It's like $3 a bottle. It lasts probably 2 months. You could not get a cheaper superfood if you try it. And so again, we take that every morning, just 1 spoon. You don't need to take too much, just 1 spoon. And that really helps your digestive system and your immune system. And there's other things. So I meditate, which is free because you don't need anything, just yourself. And so these little things, even if you just take 5 minutes every morning, just focus on a little bit of meditation, a little bit of wellness, i.e. your CBD, your organic cider vinegar, maybe a juice if you can fit it in. And if you can't fit it in on the week, at least do a juice on the weekends. And if you do those sort of things every day, you won't get sick and you'll have the energy. It's like how I sort of say to people, that, like, especially the CEOs that are really, really busy, is like, you are like an athlete, in training. The amount of oxidants that you're producing because your brain is like overloaded every single moment of every single day, them oxidants will start to be, poisonous, and it will start to give you headaches and you'll start to feel fatigued in the afternoon. So you have to make the time to look after yourself. So water, having lots of water throughout the day. I personally don't drink coffee. I think it doesn't work for me. It might work for you if you happen to have the DNA that works with the coffee gene. But if you don't, then coffee isn't going to really be your friend. So water, and the other thing I say is that if you're going to have water, don't drink it from a plastic bottle, because bottled water is like the biggest myth of our time. And over and over, I explain that at source, the water is alkaline. But by the time they heat it, because they have to heat it, and then they put it into the bottles, and then it's sitting on a shelf for 6 months, all the plastic from the bottle, is sort of seeping into the water, and then you drink that. And there has been research all over the world on every single company that makes water, and all of them are acidic. It's only ever alkaline at source. So I suggest to people to get a filter on their tap water and drink tap water, and take a reusable bottle everywhere. So, so those are the sort of the wellness aspects that I say, and these are not really difficult things. If you can't get to the gym and you can't sort of go and exercise, if you just focus on those things to start with, you'll perk up so much. And then the second thing I say to people is about spellbinding magic, where it's your focus, determination, and commitment. You can have passion and you can have ideas, but if you haven't got that spellbinding magic, the focus, determination, and commitment, you're not actually going to reach what you need, where you want to go.
You've also been heavily involved in philanthropic projects. You mentioned also Greg Secker's project that he's done in the Philippines. Now, what kind of philanthropic projects have you been doing? And why do you feel an influencer ought to also be doing philanthropy besides trying to make money or grow their business?
Well, I wrote my last 2 books, Wonder Life and Wonder Life for Kids, and I've got a specific chapter on that about contribution. I honestly think that, obviously I've got other chapters about kindness, compassion, forgiveness, all these things. But honestly, the more you contribute to others and the planet, the healthier and happier and stress-free you are. So it makes you feel good inside when you do things for others. So for me, I'm involved in charities like Global Angels. I'm an ambassador for Global Angels, Ubuntu Pathways. Those are projects I'm so passionate about. That I will freely give my time and anything I can do to help, and I genuinely love that, for Ubuntu, for example, they're helping, they sort of it's from the cradle to they graduate. So it's very specific within Port Elizabeth, but I've been to Port Elizabeth, so I know what the townships are like. And I know that next door to the township, you have absolutely luxury, houses and condos. And yet the township, they don't have running water and they don't have toilets, and they all live in sort of like a metal shed. And I think that, to me, in 2018 just doesn't make any sense to me, how we can have such a divide, but because someone's got a different color to someone else. And so I think that everybody has the opportunity to change their future. Now, I've said this before, within my book, I put about a weird science experiment. I created myself in a weird science experiment when I was 14. I was pretty wise. I was pretty on the ball because of my childhood. I think everybody can create their own future. They can make a decision. Who do you want to be? How do you want to do it? Where are you going to go? Even if you want to change your name, whatever you want, you can make a decision right now to say, I don't want to be this person that I am. And I'm saying it to be authentic, not just put a mask on and pretend to be someone else, just be on Facebook and whatever, the laptop lifestyle, and then behind the scenes you're crying your eyes out, and you're depressed. Actually, just make a decision, change who you are to who you really want to be. And so part of that, I think, is being attracted to organizations that are doing amazing work. So Lumos, for example, I resonate with this because they want to close all orphanages down around the world. So for me, that works. Now, I love what they're doing because I believe in it, and I've set a petition up in the UK to end orphanages and children's homes in the UK, because I believe that children should live in families. They can thrive by living in a family. People don't thrive from living in institutions. You know, they're surviving, they're barely getting through the day. And we need to get people to a point where, regardless of where they come from, they're actually thriving. And not everyone is entrepreneurial like I am that can pull themselves out of that and do something amazing with it. So we need other people to sort of guide them, and that's why these organizations are amazing. You know, Lumos, founded by J.K. Rowling, she saw an article in the Times paper, was disgusted by orphanages and what happens in orphanages, and made a decision to set up Lumos. And so, you know, I'm a big fan of the Prep Foundation. I've got involved with those guys quite a lot. And, you know, I've gone to their little group sessions because they're trying to give homeless people jobs. Now, they put them on an apprenticeship scheme, and they take them through a 12-week program to give them an opportunity to get off the street, to get into a job, and to change their life. And so things like that, I really, you know, I relate to, because I've gone through some of that myself. Whereas when someone approaches me and asks me, can you be an ambassador for my charity, which is about disability? You know, I don't want to spread myself too thin. And I do care about, obviously, disability, but also I've not got any experience of that because myself and my children I've never gone through that. So I have to say to them, look, thank you for asking me, but I have to say I can't. But if you want me to share a post or you want me to do anything, of course, I'll give them some products to sell, or, you know, but I can't actually spare the time. So I think, you know, if you can get involved in doing something really impactful, you'll not only change the world, but you'll also change yourself.
Now, you mentioned you've got 2 books recently, a children's book and an adult's book. Do you want to share what those books are and who they're aimed for and the purpose behind the book?
So Wonder Life for kids and Wonder Life, they're basically the same type of book, and they run parallel to each other, but one is for adults and one is for children. Now, obviously for a child, you have to write it to their age group, which actually wasn't easy for me, because it's like, how would you write for a kid? And sometimes so I really wanted to not just like focus on adults, which initially I was just going to do one for adults, and that's Wonder Life, a self-help book to help people to come out of the darkness and into the light. And I use the example of just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it became a butterfly. And I think actually that is us, in a sense, is that we get into dark places and we think our life is over, things are going really bad for us, things are really tough, and we're never going to get through it. But actually, we do get through it, and we become the butterfly, and we fly our wings and we go around and we do what we do. And so I really thought that for me to be able to share with people what I see as 15 chapters that I feel if you apply those things, then you would live a happier, healthy life. So I include mindfulness, I include meditation, I've got a chapter on forgiveness, compassion, kindness, gratitude, you are what you eat. So, health as well. So I cover sort of almost the health impact of the economy, around the world, the difference between, say, India, China, and UK, USA. Because I think if people understood the relationship between health and failing communities, then they probably would invest more in health, because then everyone wins. Everyone increases, the economy increases, it's a win-win for everybody. So how, humanity, what is humanity? And I've covered that because it's so important. If we understood that, between you and me, there's like 0.0012% difference. The same for me and my neighbor, or someone from me in Africa. There is actually more that connects us in this world than divides us. And I, have asked people within the book to not use race, to, that race or that race and that race, because actually there's just one race. Because we're actually all humans. We're not, in fact, humans is a folklore. We're Homo sapiens. And we can do so much if we actually unite. So for me, the books are, I've got all these different chapters, but at the end of each chapter, especially for the kids, I've got these actions, these activities. This is how you become kinder. This is how you have more gratitude. You do these things. And so with the You Are What You Eat section, I cover about the myth of water. I cover about eating more plant-based foods, juicing. I have a Fit for Life category, chapter, which covers the sort of the fitness aspect, the cardiovascular. So I just feel that it's sort of a well-rounded, dip in and out type of book. Even with my own 3 kids, the difference is when they all receive their copies, River goes straight to the actions. He doesn't want to read all the details. He wants to go to the actual, what I've got to do. So he's more of an active person, the actions. Meadow, she just goes to the colouring in because I've got sort of what I call mindfulness. So there's all these sort of lovely, drawings that you can colour in. And she reads the quotes and she reads the poems, And August, he wants to read it from the beginning to the end of each chapter. And that's how I did it, is designed as a sort of a dip in and out. If you're having problems with positivity, go to the positivity chapter. If you're having a problem with passion, and not sure what to do in terms of your passion, go to the spellbinding magic chapter. And that's what I've done for the adults. The difference is that in the kids book, I've got Love Not Hate chapter. And in the adults book, I've got Make Love Not War, because I thought I would cover a little bit more details about sort of sexual health within the adults book, which I didn't feel was appropriate for 8+ years in the kids.
Wonderful. So wonderful. Excuse the pun. The books, are they available yet to watch at the time of recording or at the moment?
Yeah, they are. They're available Amazon, different bookstores. I'm very lucky that, I've been introduced to some really amazing people out here in Malibu who are endorsing the books. They've said they've absolutely loved them. They've introduced me to people, that are doing amazing things that just happen to be really well known, who have schools out here. So the kids book is actually doing really well. And I think, with the kids book, it's more what I say preventative way of life, because if we can actually focus on kids becoming healthier and happier and happy with themselves and happy in their own skin, then they actually won't need therapy, because we've become a culture of like healing and cure. And that's something I really hope to change, because we shouldn't have to be a healing and cure type culture. But we've become that. We're desperate for the next thing to help us, to make us feel better, to do this, to improve our lives. And actually, if we focus on the kids and actually help them, but of course I recognize that there is already a lot of adults that also need the help. So why I've got the Wonder Life for the adults, because, it's too late for them to sort of focus on the preventative. And so, what is the difference between someone becoming successful and someone not? And it is in your mindset to a certain degree. In one of the chapters I've got on positivity, I use an example of 2 people going for the same job. And one person, they don't prepare for it. They don't have their clothes ready. They don't have time to make breakfast in the morning because they got up too late. They don't believe that they're going to get the job. They're so focused on the fact that they don't get the job, and they're sitting there in the interview hungry with a wrinkled shirt on because they didn't have time to iron their shirt, that of course the impression they gave was pretty bad. And actually their self-fulfilling prophecy of not getting the job was correct. Whereas the other guy, who for a week was planning in his mindset how the interview was going to go, he believed that he was qualified enough. He believed he was going to get the job. He got up, did his clothes the day before. He got up earlier than normal. He had a really good breakfast. So of course, when he turned up, at the interview, he was happy, he was healthy, he wasn't hungry. He wasn't focused on the fact that his stomach was hurting. He wasn't focused on the fact that his shirt was wrinkled. He was well presented. And what he manifested, which was, I'm going to get this job, was correct. He did get the job. And, as I've said within the book, was magic used? No. It's just our mindset. So we can do anything that we want. It's just about, how we believe we can do it and what we can do, and stop using limited beliefs.
So what's one book that you've read which has impacted on your life?
I don't read self-help books. I know it's quite funny because they absolutely bore me to death. I mean, honestly, no, it's not that, because people do write some amazing stuff, but I'm just not able to get through the first sort of page. But I do love autobiographies and I do love fiction. So that I read a lot, but just in different, and, you know, philosophy and things. So, I mean, I do love The Prophet. I mean, it was so, you know, as I said, there's so many books that I've read, but I see that as a philosophy, you know, and I think, you know, how long ago did he write that? And here we are still, and that's the beauty of books. You know, they're just, there's no timeline to books. Exactly. So, yeah, so that's, but I think a lot of people know The Prophet.
So who's one person in your life, amongst all the people that you've met, a well-known person who's inspired you the most to be the kind of person that you are now?
Did you say a well-known person?
Yeah, well-known. Because a lot of people will say family, and I'm going to do a different interview with you completely. Yeah. When I see you in LA, we're going to go dig deeper into the past, because, you know, we talked about that before.
I have to say that out of right now where I'm at, okay, the one person I think that sort of, I think inspires, well, there's two people actually that inspire me. Jane Goodall, I think that she's doing the most amazing work, and she has done for decades. And she really, you know, really genuinely cares about our connection to the planet and the animals. And so, you know, I really hope that people will start to sort of see the work that she's doing and take it on board, and stop sort of animal testing in laboratories. I mean, chimpanzees, you know, they should not be tested in laboratories. They're very similar to us, and it's horrific. So I think from one point of view, it's her. People might be surprised by my other, because when you think, hang on, they're a well-known actor, how can they be so inspiring? But actually, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm more inspired by his work as an activist for the planet than I am for his work as an actor. And I'm not saying that he's not a good actor. I mean, I haven't seen every film that he's done. The films I have seen, I like. But in all honesty, it's the relentless activism to help change our planet and to improve our lives, which we really do need. We need people like him that really prepared to step up there, because he doesn't have to. He could just be living his life on the beach, chilling out, doing his acting without a thought to anyone else. But he isn't. He's got his Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation. He's determined to make a difference to our planet, to make us wake up. And so, yeah, so there's that. And actually, I will throw in one more person, and that's Adrian. He set up the Strawless in Seattle, you know, Stop Sucking campaign. And I think my kids have been very influenced by that. And, you know, they've done their own videos and telling kids their own age, please stop sucking plastic straws. You know, I mention it within the book as well, you know, stop sucking on plastic straws. Use metal straws. It's so simple to get a metal straw, because 500 million end up in the ocean. Is shocking that, you know, you don't really need a straw in your cocktail, let's be honest. You're perfectly fine to drink it without. But it's this sort of like society that we've become, where we've got to have these sort of accessories. And actually, we really don't. We can become a bit more minimalist. So, you know, I love that Stop Sucking campaign. But I know my kids are really inspired by that.
Brilliant. Is there any one last message you want to share with our viewers and our listeners on the show?
It's not selfish to look after yourself first. It's, you know, you have to keep yourself healthy in order to serve other people. You know, in terms of like suffering, if you are suffering, like if you're drowning and you're trying to get them into the boat of what we say compassion and positivity and love, and they can't pull themselves into the boat, and then, you know, so you're in the water, then the next person is upset and suffering because you're suffering, and then two more people, and then four more people, and then before you know it, everybody's in the water suffering, and no one is in the boat of compassion and love. And so how can you then, you know, as I say to people, is that how can you promote about love and compassion and positivity when you're not even in the boat yourself. You're in the water drowning with everybody else. So if you concentrate on yourself and be healthy and be happy and be positive, do your mindfulness, do your meditation, and actually live the talk and walk the talk that you talk about, you will actually be able to impact way more people because you'll be doing it from a genuine place. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely beautiful. April Chandler, thank you so much for joining the Harun Rabbani Show. And we'll speak to each other and see each other very soon. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye for now. Thank you so much for watching the Harun Rabbani Show. And if you want to find out more about April, then click on the link, and also make sure you download her book or buy her books that are most relevant to you. They're available now on any good bookstore. Anyway, if you like this show, make sure you share this interview through your social media, through 1 or 2 friends who you think may value this. And if you've got any comments to make or any suggestions, then make sure you comment right now. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.